Welcome back to Chapter 7. This is the final chapter of the Part 1 beginner section of the course. Let's continue where we left off. All right, in order to not confuse you too much about what I'm trying to do here, why don't we clean this up and stop using this loop here. So I'm going to make more space here. And we will create another custom event called, maybe just call it like standard or default move, which we will call here, default move. So default move is the one that is just the normal default move that starts from event begin play. And as long as it's not hitting anything, it's just going to keep calling default move. And so we have this, and of course, rather than looping it around, I'm going to put it here. And then we can get rid of this because this is already a loop, because if you fire this, it goes back here. And then now we have the redirect move now. So what do we do with that? Good question. I think what we can do is, of course, take this as well, right? So get. So what we have to do basically is if we trigger the default move from here, I want to use this. But if we trigger it from here, I want to use this one. So, okay, let's think about what we can do. Of course, rather than, actually, it's probably okay. Because we can basically just do this and copy it, which is still fine. And so why don't we just probably do that, because that'll be easier. Of course, there's a way to use this, right? Select utilities and then, set a value here, which we can set here. But then I feel like it's unnecessary because you can just call it like this. So yeah, that's fine. And so what I'll do is if it succeeds in redirecting itself, then of course we go back to this one. So we can probably just connect this up. So you know that there is an association between this and this, right? Okay, so of course I'm just going to move this in to clean it up. I think we can do a little better. So select that, move that in. And then we can move this up a little bit more. Yeah, and that looks pretty good to me. Maybe we can move this up a little bit here. Yep. And so fingers crossed, I think this will work. So then we can compile and save. And why don't we give this a test? I think possibly this could be an issue, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, let's press play. All right, let's make sure that it, okay, so that's hard to see. And so yeah, to make it again easier for it to collide, maybe we can just bring all of these guys way closer so we can guarantee a collision. Okay, and in fact, for debugging, we should probably do a print string calling bumped. There you go. And then let's compile and save that. Let's play once again. Okay. Okay, so it seems like it's pretty difficult to get these guys to bump together, even though we bunched it together. What I'll do is I will do this Stickman 4 and just Control C and V that. And then I will just add a lot more into here. Yep. Why don't we just bring in 6? Yep. And then play, save. Hopefully now it for sure collides. Yep, you can see that it's redirecting, which is great. And that'll hit. Okay, that's good. That'll hit there. So you can see that the issue with hit is that it can trigger like many, many times, which is a problem. And so what we can probably do is, let's see, we can probably use a Boolean, right? To manage this. So if it's true, let's do if it's false. So I'm gonna just do a redirect over here and here. So basically what I'm trying to do is, after we call this, I'm going to make a new variable called isRedirecting. Compile that, and false is fine. So if redirect move was triggered, I want to set it to true. All right. And then once the redirect move is finished, above, so over here, I'm going to set it to false. So actually, I think maybe better to do this, right? And yeah, move this over here. And then we'll check here. If it's already redirecting, if it's this, we do nothing. If it's false, then we let it do its thing. So yeah, there you go. A little bit of cleanup there. Think it should work, so compile and save. Let's play once again. Yep, looks a lot less jittery when it's spinning around. Yep, that looks good. You'll see there again. Yep. So there's a bit of a problem there. So I think, okay, so what I think I'll do is I will split this now, so we need to rearrange a lot of stuff. And so take that out. And what I'll do is, I think with the Stickman, we can use this branch. So rather than putting it before, we can put it after the check. But with the Spaceman, I kind of wanted to trigger it quite frequently because the Spaceman is a priority, right? And so we'll take that out. It's going to get a little messy, but here, first thing is to first check if we're hitting the Spaceman. In that case, we're not going to do any checks. We will let it trigger this straight away, right? This thing here. Boom, there you go, right? And if the cast fails, and if it's the Stickman, we will now put this in here. We will do the check before we do this stuff. So we'll check, is it already redirecting? And if it's false, then we let it go over here. Okay, and then this isn't looking so nice. So yeah, that looks super nice. Bring this over. And that's gonna be okay for sure, yeah. So compile and save that. And let's play once again. So you can see that as soon as it hits the Spaceman, a lot of events from the hit will be triggered. Make sure it's always facing away from the Spaceman. But if it's bumping into each other, the orange guys here, it should only be one event because we have to check. So we should see it somewhere here. Yep, you can see, yeah. Not as many, right? But as soon as it hits the Spaceman, you'll see here a lot. So this is exactly what I wanted, so that perfectly worked. So one more thing, if you have been paying attention, you'll probably see here in any of these, go to the viewport, I'm just going to compile this. You'll see the transition, right? Boom. It's super sudden and quite ugly, right? And so I'll tell you where to set that. And you can set that in the animation blueprint. So go to Stickman, AB Stickman, and in here, each of these, there is a value here, 0.2, the blend settings, right? So you can pick 0.4 in all of these if you think they are a little too fast. And this curves, which I think, we can probably try something a little more exponential. Say this one. So to preview that, I kind of need to just do that, and let's see. Yeah, actually that looks way worse. So probably something softer like cubic. Yeah, it looks a lot more natural, right? So cubic, why don't we just pick cubic on every one of them? cubic, great. Compile and save that. Let's see once again. Yeah, looks a lot smoother. We can also do the same for Spaceman, so let's see how it blends. This actually looks quite good on this one, because I'm thinking because the stance is identical. Yeah, it's perfectly okay. So probably this one, we will give it 0.4 seconds for the picking up animation. And we can give it cubic. But we'll have to see once we actually play this, right? We can set that for now and compile and save. And one more thing maybe looks a little ugly is the rotation. So going to character movement, Stickman. I think I'm gonna slow down this one. I think if it's too slow, there'll be an issue. So yeah, 300 maybe is okay, but the Spaceman, we can reduce it, perhaps to 400. Yeah, I think that's fine. Compile and save. And yeah, that's about it for now. All right, so that wraps up part 1 of the course.
Nice job, team.
But don't just go yet, especially the new subscribers to my channel. Listen, if you're thinking right now, especially, oh gosh, I spent over an hour and a half watching these videos and I haven't made anything fancy yet. Where are the results? I need it quick right now. If that's what you're thinking, I would recommend that you stop watching my videos, literally just because your focus is in the wrong place. Because if you want to be an Unreal Engine artist, you should be focusing on learning shaders, level design, Niagara particles, using level sequencers, or the motion graphics plugin. Those will give you much higher return on investment, not my videos. However, if you actually find the lower level programming of the interaction interesting to you, then you should keep watching my videos. So yeah, give me like a few weeks, possibly a month. I know it's a long time to wait, but think about how many years you had to wait to get season 3 of One Punch Man. It's nothing compared to that, okay? So it's not a long time. So be patient. You have all the videos already on my YouTube channel, so enjoy that, and we'll see you in part 2 of the Unreal Engine characters for Dummies.